Yes, yes, yes. Good morning for some, good afternoon for most, and good evening for others. I hope everybody's well. It's the Armoury TV. It's the match reaction to yesterday's FA Cup match, Man City versus Arsenal. I've got my guy James with me. Let's get into this. Yes, good afternoon, people. It's the Armoury TV. We're back for another match reaction. I've got my guy James with me. How you keeping, bruv?
Yeah, man, good. Woke up to my shower not working this morning, so that's great. So I had to wash this mop in a sink, so it was an exciting morning. But yeah, man, no, I'm good. I'm good. Lots of exciting things going on with Arsenal related.
Mm.
So yeah, man, I'm doing all right.
Yeah, good, good, good. So let's just get straight into it. Obviously, yesterday we had the Friday night match, Arsenal versus Man City at the Emirates, not Emirates, sorry, at Man City Stadium.
Mm.
Um, what's initial thoughts before we even saw the team selection? What was your thoughts on this game? Was it a priority for you, or was it more
Um,
about just giving minutes, getting through it,
um,
no injuries?
yeah, no, obviously, look, I would have liked to have my stance on the game in terms of the FA Cup is obviously it's the FA Cup. So whenever it comes to Arsenal in the FA Cup, you want to win it because we won it the most times out of
Mhm.
any other club. Um, but I was using this as like a precursor to see how we would do against the
Mhm.
second best team in the league at this based off
Mhm.
of points this season. Um, and yeah, I was it was good to see us rotating quite a bit because we are gonna have a few games that are coming up that are gonna need some rotation, especially the Europa League.
Mhm.
Less so now that we're out of both cup competitions. But yeah, it was more of a barometer to see how we competed up against City and their squad.
Definitely.
So yeah, that was the main thing for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. I let it be known for the start of the season, FA Cup and League Cup was not my priorities this year.
Mm,
Um, for me, it was always the Premier League and UEFA Cup because it was all about getting top four and progressing to the Champions League next season. So if we had to sacrifice anything, yeah, sacrifice it. Yes, I want to win still. However, if it came at the detriment of, say, a party injury, obviously I would sacrifice this competition.
yeah,
However, it might have gone wrong for us anyway.
yeah.
But when you saw the team sheet, there were six changes. What was
hmm
your initial thoughts on the team sheet? I haven't got the predictions, who predicted what, but
hmm
I think mine might have been quite similar to that, if I'm
Yeah,
honest.
I didn't do a predicted 11. But to be honest, it was what I was expecting. I was expecting a back five that was similar to that. We always play Gabriel Seams in every game, so I didn't
Mm,
think we were gonna rotate him out for Jacob Kivior. Um, I just felt like this was too soon, too big of
yeah,
a
it was a bit
game
of
at
a team.
least. So the back five was expected. Um, and then yeah, I feel like the midfield picked itself. He normally drops Odegaard. He did in the Carabao Cup for Vieira, and then
Yeah.
obviously now we have Trossard allows Martinelli to get a bit of a rest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't worried about the changes. It's what I wanted anyway. As you said, look, we're in a position now where we're at the top of the table after 19 games. Um, and for me personally, if I had the level of depth that City has, I would have wanted to win this game. And obviously, I wanted to win
Mm,
this game, but I would have gone with more strength. But right now, we just don't have the depth.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I was happy with the rotations.
It's a funny one because it says we don't, well, again, I agree with you. We don't have depth in some areas. I think we're a bit short still in
Mm,
one or two positions. Um, but I think this is the argument that's been going on, isn't it? It's this defense is where we're the strongest and it's
yeah.
where we rotated most. So three out of the four defenders changed and obviously the keeper changed. Um, how do you think they fared in that game? Because again, there's been a lot of I've spoken on Tobias and Tierney saying they haven't really been up to the standard when they have played.
hmm
Um, it hasn't been a surprise to me. Sinchenko and White have held on to their shirts. We all know Holding isn't really first choice at the moment.
hmm
we kind of know where he is in the pecking order. But definitely for the two fullbacks, last year they were our starting fullbacks. This year they struggled to break into that team. So how do you think those guys fared? Let's move it. Let's go through the guys who did like the rotational kind of players.
Hmm.
Um, Again, it looks like cup competitions are for Turner. I think
Yeah.
most keepers nowadays understand if they play second fiddle, they're going to play in the cups. That's where you get your minutes. Let's start with him. How do you feel he done?
Hmm.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on Turner?
Yeah, man. He's really impressed me. He has really, really impressed me. I felt like
Mm,
the first game we saw of him on his debut, like a lot of players, it's a bit shaky. They're a bit nervous, you know.
mm,
But since that game, every game he's played, he's looked really, really good. He's really, really good in terms of claiming balls out the box,
mm,
shot stopping, getting down on the floor quickly. You saw it. The punches he made every time they tried to cross the ball to Haaland, he was there to meet it. Um, and what we relatively knew he was good at shot stopping, but what I've been impressed by the most is how much his distribution has come on since that
mm,
first game. And maybe it's me being naive, and maybe his distribution has always been this good, even playing in the MLS for the USA. But based off of the first two games that we've seen him, I feel like his distribution, maybe working with Ramsdale, just to keep him coaches in general, has come on leaps and bounds. And he doesn't seem as nervous on the ball. When
mm.
he was first here, when you got a pass back from like Rob Holding or someone, he always seemed to like hoof it or misplay a pass to one of the centre backs.
It was rushed, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Like
it was on.
when you see Ramsdale, sometimes you
Yeah,
think clear, and Ramsdale takes a touch
yeah, and he just
just to allow the players around him just to set a position,
yeah,
and now I can find him in the
yeah.
pass. If I do it too early, for instance, if I pass to Saliba and he's facing me, he's got nowhere to go but back to me. So if I take a touch, it allows Saliba to get on the half turn. Then I
Mhm.
give it to him. Now he can play forward. And
Yeah.
yeah, with Turner, you could see there was an anxiousness before when the
Hmm.
ball was coming to him, and then it almost ends up with actually safety first. Let's just go long.
Yeah.
Whereas I agree with you. I think to yesterday he was really picking his passes and
Hmm.
put some nice balls into that kind of middle area. Do you know what I mean? Bypass the two centre backs and going into the wing backs and or the
Yeah.
centre mid, and he was hitting them really well on the touchline.
Hmm.
So yeah, yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think one thing I'd noticed from him again, and it's hard to sometimes judge because obviously he's playing against City and they play a different style, but he seemed like he was coming out to clean crosses a lot more than I've seen Ramsdale. And that might just be because I've just noticed it with Turner. I might not be noticing it with Ramsdale as much. Maybe teams aren't crossing as much. Again, we demand a lot more of the ball when we play other teams. So it's kind of not, I'm not trying to say he's better than Ramsdale at coming, but there seemed to be that it was really evident yesterday. Anything that was coming into that box, he was coming for it, wasn't he? And maybe it's a tactic because we're playing against Haaland and we know, do you know what I mean? As a centre back, it's very hard to kind of mark him in them areas. So actually, by the keeper coming and helping out, can just alleviate some pressure. But did you notice that as well? He was very, very active on coming to clean crosses.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Of course, it was always something that I feel like Ramsdale needs to work on.
Mm,
And it's another strength that Turner has different to Ramsdale is the fact that he's more confident and he's more commanding when it comes to claiming things in his area. I feel like.
mm,
Um, And what I liked a lot as well, what Ramsdale does as well, is of that I haven't really seen from Turner, is he was playing a bit like Manuel Neuer yesterday in terms of the
mm,
sweeper keeper. Every time Haaland spun Rob Holding or spun Gabriel, got a little bit of room, he was there. He was on it. He
mm,
didn't allow him to, you know, get that, especially in the first half, I should say.
mm,
Um, so that was nice. It was just, yeah, overall, it was just a commanding performance. And I felt like he was a bit unlucky with the goal. Um,
mm.
but yeah, yeah, he had a really good game.
That's good to hear. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I agree with there. Let's move on to a different position because again, this was I think a big surprise when we saw him in the lineup.
Mm,
Um, we're gonna go to Rob Holding, WWE Rob Holding. Now, people have made a lot about his performance yesterday.
mm,
I'll let you go first, and I'll give my thoughts on it.
yeah.
Um, what was your thoughts on Holding yesterday?
Um, I thought he was all right. I'm not gonna
Mm,
lie. You can obviously see the difference between him, Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel. Like there is a bit of a drop off. We've all been aware of this for years, but I felt like he played really really well. For his standards, in the sense of he had a job, and that was to stick on Haaland, be touch
mm,
tight, and don't let him get much at the ball. Don't let him lay it off. Don't let him get in behind. Look, he got spun one time, but you could say that was a foul because Haaland was all over him. But apart from that,
mm,
um, I felt like he did good. Distribution wasn't all there, although he was just keeping it simple. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. If you need someone to defend, that's the type of centre back he is.
Yeah.
He has no problem defending. He has no problem doing what an old school centre back does, putting in challenges,
Yeah.
winning the ball, laying it off to someone that's better on the ball. And
Yeah.
that's what he did. And for my expectations of him, for his standards and mine, I felt like he did really good.
Yeah. Again, hopefully we don't agree on everything today,
Yeah.
but I'm in total agreement with you. Like everyone's just quick to criticize. If that was Saliba manhandling Haaland the way he did, we'd be all applauding him and saying what a great job he done. And for me, like Haaland probably came out of that game knowing he was in a match. And again, I'm a bit older than you, so I think
Mm,
back to some of the best centre backs I've seen growing up, and that was part and parcel of it. We're gonna get in your face, we're gonna be touch tight, we're gonna rough you up, and actually, by me and you battling, that ball's in the air. For me and you battling, what that does, that gives my other centre back a second to recover. So
mhm,
Gabriel's there to sweep up. So our block, you sweep. So it might look untidy at times. It might look like me and you are in the rest. I might end up on the floor, but you having to get rid of me means my other centre back now has a couple of extra seconds or a couple of extra yards to get closer to the ball and clean up. So it's an untidy job. Yeah, you can make yourself look really silly sometimes if you get spun or do you know what I mean? If you miss time one or something. But again, let's be honest, Haaland is the most dangerous striker in the league this season, and
mhm.
I feel Rob Holding dealt with him really well. And again, it's I wonder what Haaland has to say about it. That's what I think the test is when you see other players come out and say, "I didn't enjoy playing against him,"
Yeah, he
or
didn't have a sniff all game, all game.
yeah, and you saw it then even his touches, his passes, he looked a bit rattled.
Mhm,
He doesn't look like a hothead Haaland, but I
mhm.
think a Diego Costa that situation could potentially one of them getting sent off in that game
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
they're liable to strike out. Whereas Haaland looked like he controlled himself well, but I don't think he's really been tested like that in the league this
Mhm,
season. Like every team's kind of maybe stood off Man City rather than go toe to toe with them. So he probably hasn't come up against someone who's going to get in his face like that. And it was quite refreshing to see. And I think Pep didn't allude to Rob Holding in the interviews, but he spoke a lot about he was surprised Arsenal went man to man.
mhm,
And if you looked at like bird's eye view shots, there was a lot of times Haaland is one on one with Rob Holding and Gabriel's somewhere else marking someone else. We literally played 3 against 3
mhm,
back there, and they coped really, really well. And again, you would more time say you don't do that against City with Haaland's pace and their movement. Like you normally sit into a shape and try and
mhm,
defend. We didn't. We went for him, and yeah, I think Holding. I'll be honest, it's gonna sound mad because Saliba's been that brilliant. I wouldn't actually be surprised if you saw Holden in the first game when we played against City. If they say actually just give him 45 minutes and let him just rough and tumble with Haaland for 45 minutes. If he gets a book in, we bring him off again. Like
mhm.
you never know. It could be a tactic they deploy because we looked very comfortable in that first half. They didn't have a
Yeah.
sniff really. Do
Mhm,
you know what I mean? So it's things to work on. It really is. I think it was a good performance from Holding. Let's move on to another one who's been yeah, he's been criticised by me a few, not criticised, but I've asked to see more from him. Kieran Tierney at left back
mhm,
position. How do you think he got on? Had some, uh, I'd say brutal words because it wasn't harsh, but it was very no nonsense. And
mhm.
this is in the group chat, guys. I should screenshot it and send it
Mhm.
in. But yeah, Jace has some harsh words saying, "Does Tierney fit our system? And if he doesn't, then do we need to get him out and replace him with someone who does fit the system?" We know Sinchenko plays the inverted role very well. Um, so do we need another person who could play it as good as Sinchenko? So yeah, thoughts on Tierney in that game yesterday?
Um, yeah. I don't know. It's I don't want to be harsh on him because I like him. Um, I felt like he was
Mm,
all right. It just feels like well, it depends on how we view the squad going forward, and this has always been my stance, right?
mm,
Um, what is it? It's the fact that when we play with Zinchenko, you can just see the difference. There's a level raiser,
mm,
and it's probably on par with Partey on the drop off that I feel like there is with Zinchenko. Um, and I felt like he did okay. Defensively, I felt like he did all right. I just feel like I don't want to slander him because I like him. I don't know, and a load of people don't agree with me. That I was getting shade thrown at me in the group chat when I said he needs to be sold in the summer. But my stance hasn't changed with that, man. Like really, it's just how you view it long term. So
Yeah.
he played okay. But again, I just feel like the level was raised when Zinchenko came on. And that being said, Zinchenko was man marked by Kyle Walker, and that will be an interesting battle in the next fixtures because Kyle Walker was so high compared to how he normally is. So maybe Tierney has a role to play because he can combat Walker a bit
Kyle
better
Walker's a good.
because he's
Yeah.
more of a natural fullback versus fullback. So there probably is a place for him in the team, and I'm probably being a bit harsh. My criticism of him comes from a perspective of where we're going and not where we're at right now. So in the sense of where do I see the squad long term? Where do I think Arteta sees the squad long term? And does he fit the profile of the player and he has the attributes of where we want to be? So in that perspective, the two key things I would say that I'll wrap it up with for Tierney. Tierney played okay. I'm not going to slander him. If I was to give him a rating, I don't know if we're doing ratings later on.
Yeah, we're getting the rating.
If we are, okay, then that's fine. I'll save the rating. But for me, for him to be able to be in this team, it depends where we utilize Trossard, and it depends if we bring in a right back like Fresneda. And that's where I see it as, because then we can get the best out of Tierney. I just feel like the way we're playing at the moment isn't just suited to his strengths. So that's why I'm being more critical of him, because it's just different to how it appears as Zinchenko.
No Tierney slander on my watch.
Hey, brother, he's on thin
How you
ice.
keeping?
Tierney slander. Oh yeah, now my people.
We got the Niger Englishman in the building. How you keeping, brother?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. I mean, yesterday it's obviously disappointing to go out of the FA Cup because that's like our tournament. But I saw enough in that game to make me understand that we can go toe to toe with Manchester City, bro. Before Partey came off, we were the dominant side, clearly. Soon as your boy, you and Gunner's boy, the Congo came in, then shambles, bro. That guy needs to go get some minutes elsewhere. Anyway, yeah, we'll get into that.
We're going to get to him later because I do feel some of the criticisms being very harsh on him. But we're going to get to him later. As I said, what we're doing today, Nigel, is we're going through the players who don't normally play, who played yesterday. So we spoke about Turner. So if you could give me a 30-second wrap-up on Turner and then Rob Holding, your thoughts on them two yesterday. 30 seconds on each.
First of all, Turner, he did as well as I expect him to do, to be honest. Like, I don't expect more than that type of performance from him. I don't really particularly rate him as a goalkeeper, but he's a good number. He's a decent number 2. So he did his job in it. So I don't think he was at fault for the goal. So he did all right. Do I have to score him or?
Nah, we'll get to scores later. We're just talking about how they stepped up.
Holding, well, he kept a clean sheet with Haaland for a half, so can't be mad at him, bro. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, he kept him quiet. He was roughing him up, getting in his face. Like, to be honest, Rob did all right. Obviously, with the yellow card, he had to come off at half time because that could be problematic. But he did all right.
Yeah, me and Jay said the same thing. We thought he actually gave Haaland the right. Haaland probably hasn't been in a battle like that in the Prem, and you know when people say when you come to the Premier League, it's the most physical, it's this, that, and that. Haaland's probably thinking what you're not talking about, and then he met Rob Holding, and that's what he. It was a throwback Martin Keown kind of performance. He was all over him. So, and then obviously we just spoke on Tierney as well when you stepped in. So, thoughts on Tierney? Can you? Yeah. James has said he understands why Zinchenko plays. The level drops significantly when he understands they play different styles, but for the style we want to play, he's not Zinchenko. So go on, this is your time to come back.
Hey, do you know what? Yeah, Tierney's still for me our best left back. I think what's James is forgetting the times last season where he was missing and we looked odd, looked like a dead team on that side. Especially when it came to the money at the end of the season.
If it shows you anything, bro, when he's on the field, we look like a dead team.
Wait. But he's dealing with something that he's never dealt with in his career right now, not being the first choice left back, and it's he's coming in and out of the team. Obviously, he's not really getting injuries, but he's coming in and out of the team. and being asked to do some different things that he's not been asked for in previous seasons. So he's adapting, and I think if he gets more game time, he'll do what he always does and be the consistent left back in the side. But big up Zinchenko right now, because what he's doing, he's taking a bit more risks as a left back than maybe a Tierney would do. So that can be helpful, because if you saw when he came on yesterday, we just looked a little bit different. But I've seen us look hot when Tierney's been playing well as well. So I'm not going to just say because he's off a little bit of form, he's still not my number one. He's still my number one, and he just needs game time.
Okay, I like it. This is definitely going to be a stream coming up in the future. It is what do we do with this Tierney? Like,
people talking about selling him in summer and all that stuff.
Yeah, people are talking a while.
We'll see.
I think personally he had a good game yesterday. However, I think the cameo of Zinchenko, it's the same as Partey. You sometimes see a difference in how teams approach us. There was a moment when Zinchenko had the ball in the midfield, and he had about 15 seconds on the ball where no one wanted to really get close to him. And that's the difference. It just means teams don't want to press you as quick because they know he can find the pass. So almost teams set off a little bit just to allow him and Partey to have the ball. And it is a big difference when them two play and how teams come to a set. But I think Tierney was good yesterday. I think it was one of his better performances I've seen in a little while from him. And it's going to be chess in the next match, because I think, James, you alluded, if Kyle Walker plays, then Tierney's probably suited better. So I think there's going to be a lot of chess getting played ready for that next game. Let's move on to the next player. We're going to go on the other side. Big Tomiyasu. Niger, you can go first. What was your thoughts on Tommy?
Tommy had a decent game, man. Nearly got his first goal for Arsenal as well. Unfortunate. Good strike, though. Hit it well. He did well for me, man. He did all right, man. I have no complaints of Tomiyasu, really, man.
Yeah. James, yourself on Tommy?
Yeah, man. Again, it's kind of like with the rest of our squad players now. You know what they're going to give you, and that's fine, because, I mean, to be a title-winning team, you need really good squad players, and he is the definition of a really good squad player. Wherever you put him, I feel like there may been a time where he's dropped like one bad performance, but I'm struggling to remember. He just seems to be a consistent defender wherever he is, and that's what he was again. So yeah, as Kunle said, it was just standard performance from him, and he played good.
Yeah, I think he's never less than a 7, Tomiyasu, is he?
Yeah, man. He reminds me a lot of Asby, in the sense of not the player, but you know how Azpilicueta has been for Chelsea for like the past 8 years. Not maybe not so this season or last, but you know how he's annoying to play against, and he's just consistent. Yeah. He's like our Nacho Monreal, bro.
I'm going to go on a limb and say, actually, I expect Tomiyasu to grab that shirt back in the next few weeks. I think Ben White's been brilliant so far this season. There's been a slow little decline, not just based on United game. There's been a few games where I've started to see him waver a little bit. So I expect Tomiyasu to actually now be really pushing to get his shirt back. And this is what you want, isn't it? It's competition. Or again, it might just be a bit more rotation. I feel we can see more games where we're seeing teams like this getting played where you might have two players come in. So it might be Tomiyasu and Vieira might start this week, and then the next week it might be a change with Saka and Zinchenko. So I expect to see a bit more rotation, but I think we'll see more Tomiyasu very soon. Let's move into the number 10 position. Fabio Vieira started. Again, James, how do you view his performance?
He wasn't in the game a lot. I felt like, in terms of when you want a player like Fabio Vieira, it's the same with Odegaard. You want them on the ball, and I felt like he wasn't as effective on the ball as we have seen in previous games. I feel like he struggled a little bit in that sense, but what I was impressed with is how I feel like he's evolved into a more better defensive player, in the sense of man marking, being in the correct positions, knowing where to be when we're on the counter or when we're in a deep block or when we're on transition. I feel like his positioning is a lot better. It was good in that game. But then again, you could probably have a lot of players that are good at that, and then don't need to employ Vieira. But I was impressed with the defensive side. I felt like he's getting better at that, but he wasn't on the ball, I felt.
Okay, Niger.
Yeah, I would say I wasn't too impressed with him yesterday, because all the good stuff we did in the first half, he wasn't really involved in any of it, as dominant as we were in that first half. He needs to get more involved in games. I'm sure it'll come with time and more with a little bit more physicality. I'm not saying he needs to be like massive, but he just needs to be a little bit more physical in his game because he was getting brushed off the ball a little bit too much in that game. He got involved towards the end, I think, when maybe Odegaard came on or when Zinchenko came on. I can't remember.
He went
but
on
he
the
got
right
a little
wing,
bit. Yeah, it looked a little bit more involved in that position. But as a number 10, he's going to need to step it up a lot more, man. I don't think Odegaard's worried about him taking his place anytime soon. And it would have been nice to have ESR as well, because that would have been a perfect game for ESR carrying the ball. But unfortunate for him.
Yeah, no, I think with Vieira, for me, I'm going to be a bit more positive than I think Niger, maybe a bit more positive than James. I wasn't expecting him to do the amazing thing, but what I wanted to see from him is if he can cope at this level, if that makes sense. So I would look at the Newcastle game. We was reluctant to put him in, and I think for me yesterday, I saw enough to say actually, if we're in that situation again, we need to throw him in, because again, yes, he didn't carry the threat Odegaard carries week in week out. There was elements of his game where you could see we missed Odegaard, or again, I agree with you, like the strength holding things up, just playing in them areas. But if it's 85th minute, we're chasing a goal. I think the Newcastle game, we was in that mindset of we don't. You hear the saying, if you can't win, don't lose. I feel we was in that mindset. Whereas I feel we need to win at all costs. To actually, he needs to come in, and we're not going to lose the defensive side that much if he comes and plays inside the central areas or something like that. So I saw enough for him yesterday to say, actually, I want to see more of him this season. And actually, we need to give him them opportunities to play, because again, at that age, there you only get better by playing football. There's no point just sitting on the sidelines watching. Do you know what I mean? You can do as much as you can in training, but it's completely different than when you get into the real part of the action. So yeah, I wasn't too disheartened with him, and actually to play in that game again, you're talking the best team in the Premier League for the last 5 years, and he's in there, and do you know what I mean? He didn't look out of place. So I think that was the most important thing for me. He looked like he kind of belonged in that area on that stage. So, which ties us in nicely to the new guy, Leandro Trossard. How impressed were you with him, James? And out of all, actually, we'll get to that afterwards. But yeah, how impressed were you with Trossard? First of all, how do you rate his performance?
Yeah, I think it's telling when a player comes in and they just seem to seamlessly slip into a system and look like they've been here for a long time. I feel like that says a lot about a player and their characteristics and their ability. And for me, if you would have told me Trossard has been here 3 years or he's been here 3 days, like you would have said he's been here 3 years, right? Mm-hmm. He just looks like that kind of player. And yeah, man, today I like how tidy he is on the ball. He's a different style of player to Martinelli. I feel like Martinelli's byline.
He's more explosive, Martinelli.
Speed, right? Trossard seems to be a bit more controlled. He's quick, but he's always seems to be in control of the ball, almost like I don't know how, like similar to Jack Grealish in dribbling style, right? It doesn't seem to leave his feet. It seems to be he's always got the ball under control, and you ain't getting it off him unless you foul. And he did a lot of that today. I liked how he was spotting players in the box. His cutbacks were really good, I felt like. I think it was his cutback that led to the Tommy chance, where he blasted it. That would have been some goal. But yeah, I mean, you're seeing similar cameos from when we played United, when he came on for 10, 15 minutes, and however long he was on today for 60, 65 minutes. So yeah, he looks like a bargain, and I'm really, really impressed with him so far.
Yeah. Niger?
Yeah, I echo what James was saying, man. Baller, mate. He just literally slots in so seamlessly. Literally, like, he's the difference he provides us. He's a ball carrier, and he's good in like the tight spaces. Like you wouldn't get the ball off him, as James said. He gives me, but doesn't give me. Like I'm gonna say a name, but calm down. I'm not saying this guy.
He's gonna say Messi
because he uses both feet so easily. He's like giving kind of Santi, but not Santi. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Danny Ceballos.
Hey, Champions League winner, Danny. You know.
Yeah, boy, my guy
doing his thing right now. But yeah, very, very good player. Going to be an asset to us towards the end of this season and onto next season as well. You can see he's gaining confidence from the fact where I've got ballers around me now. Do you get what I'm saying? He's really excited. You could just see he's excited about that, and things are just going to get better for me. I can't see it being very long till he gets his first goal or first assist, because he looked very, very tricky.
100%. I was really impressed with him. Again, same as the United cameo, looks good. But yesterday he looked like he carried our main threat. I feel in that game. That, as much as I get what you're exactly saying, he's not as direct as Martinelli is. Martinelli's going to attack the grass sometimes, but he was picking up the ball and just going at the fullback, and
every time.
And then again, it's just that vision. Not always have to beat you down the line to then get the cutback or cross. I'll actually do it from the edge of the box. So I think he's going to bring other options. I said before he signed, I want him to get the 19 shirt. He reminds me of Santi, just with the way, you could try and press him in areas, and he's just so elusive. He comes out with 3 men around him. He shouldn't be getting out of there, and he seems to sneak his way out. Obviously, the height as well. So everything about him does remind me of Santi, and the left foot is strong as well. Not as good as Santi's, I don't think, but
for sure,
he hits a clean strike with it. But so again, and he's another one where we talk about the false 9, but actually I think the inverted 8 he could easily slip into in some games. Like if a team's really low blocking against us, you have Martinelli, you have Saka, you have Odegaard, and I would play him in that false 9, because again he'll create and unlock a lot of doors. What you do against a low block, you need someone who's going to commit a player or two and open up space, and he seems like someone who really do that. So I wouldn't be surprised again if you see him deployed in other areas. Obviously, I've got Smith Rowe coming back, who also I think could play in there. But it just gives us options, and I feel he could have a career a bit like Bernardo Silva, where he starts out in the wide areas, but then you soon actually see he's got a lot more qualities inside, because you need players like this on the ball as much as possible, because they're hard to deal with. So you want him having as many touches as possible. There's no point in him just being on the outside waiting, getting a touch every 10, 15 minutes. Like you need him on the ball. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I was really impressed with his performance. And yeah, for me, it's a great signing. One thing I always want to touch on as well with Trossard, everyone talks about his age, and he's not say he started football late, but he definitely has had like a slow building career. And normally when you find players like this, they normally kind of carry on a bit later, because their legs are a bit fresher. You see players when they burst through at 17, 18, a lot of them kind of die out by 31, 32. Do you know what I mean? I was seeing like Aguero's age, and I couldn't believe how young he was still. Obviously, Rooney retired at a young age. I know it's probably more to do with diet and lifestyle, but a lot of players who do burst on the scene early can die out by 31, 32. Legs are gone. They've just put Alexis Sanchez. I look at him, and when he went to United, legs were just gone. Still got quality, but he just didn't have that thing he had at Arsenal. The legs went. Whereas Trossard, he may have a couple more years in the tank, because he probably hasn't played at this level, that intensity of game, that level of game. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think that could stand him in good stead. I don't reckon he'll die off very quick at all. I think he's got a good 4 or 5 years in him. So yeah, we looked at it as maybe a 2-3 year signing, but actually he could continue at this level for 4 or 5 years. And again, time will tell with it. But
even 3 years is great return for that
return.
signing.
Yeah. I always look at a player, if they can give me a good season, I equate it to 10 mil a season. So if you cost me 30 mil, if I get 3 good years out of you, I'm happy. Do you know what I mean? Really happy 100%. To work out 10 mil a year, and you can't buy a player for 10 mil for a good season. So yeah, we'll see how we get on with him. But I'm impressed. Whether he dislodges Martinelli or not, I think it's more again a rotation thing. There'll be games for him, there'll be games for Martinelli, there'll be games for Saka. So it just gives us the option where we can rest and rotate, and again throw curveballs. If you're set up thinking you've got Martinelli playing, then the starting 11 comes in and it's him, you now have to readjust maybe your whole to defend. Do you know what I mean? So it just gives us that option. Right, we're going to move on. This guy didn't start, but he's part of the squad I identified who don't normally play, and he got a solid 45 minutes. There's been a lot being said on the Arsenal Twitter pages. It's all kicking off. I want to hear where some of you lot sit on this guy, the man at the moment, the new Eddie Nketiah, Albert Sambi Lokonga. James, we'll let you go first, and then I'm going to let Nigel have his say. First of all, let's talk about performance first, and then we can go into kind of attitude, because again, we're getting to that. Obviously, he walked down the tunnel. He's the first player to leave the pitch. So yeah, give me your thoughts on his performance first, and then your thoughts on him walking down the tunnel, doing the old Ronaldo.
Performance was mixed, because I felt in parts of that game he was actually really good. When he's going forward, he looks like there's a player there. He looks like he's tidy on the ball and he knows how to pick a pass. Line breaking, switches. He seems to have that ability. What was likened to him for our Thomas Partey replacement in terms of the on-the-ball quality is there. You can see it. What worries me is what Partey is elite at and why we use him in our system is defensively. Because this brother seemed lost, man. I do not know where he was going for the Alvarez shot, but he should have been there. That was him. That was his position. And there was also where, I don't know if you guys saw it, where Odegaard... I've never seen Odegaard react like that, by the way, on the pitch.
You know,
but he was pissed.
It's quite interesting. Yeah, carry on. Sorry, carry on.
Sambi dropped too deep, and he should have been there to break up that ball where Partey would have been, and we would have countered. He wasn't there. He was way too deep. He seemed to be almost playing as like a fifth centre back at times, like a part of the back five instead of just like a, further up where Partey is.
Do you know what's interesting? Now, let me jump in there just quickly because I can go back and watch this game and I can find you 5 times where Partey went in the same position that where Sambi Lokonga went in that game. And again, this is the elements of different games. That's obviously a tactic we deployed against Man City because there was a few times. I remember Partey put a tackle on Grealish when Grealish came inside Tomiyasu and Partey stepped out from centre back and absolutely hit him, won the ball clean. But that was a tactic we deployed because obviously that they're looking at that space as where City may try and play a quick 1-2. However, obviously the game's changed and I understand Odegaard's frustration because he's now having to press 2 people. But have you seen the wide angle video of it? Where because there's a wide angle video and Nigel, you can kiss your teeth as much as you want. But again, you know me already, I'm going to go into it because I saw Partey doing the same movements in the first half. And I feel, personally, before we get to Nigel, I feel people are being a bit unfair because actually if he doesn't follow the run and the ball goes in there and we get punished there, we're all going to be going crazy at him for not following that run. We all know when you're defending, you get compact. And I'll put up, I might even do a breakdown on it because in the same move, when the ball's on the other side, we're compact. No, but it's a system thing. For me, there's a point when the build-up starts on the other side, so it started on our left. Sambi Lokonga's compact with Xhaka, we're all on the left side compacting, and we always made a 4 across the midfield with Odegaard just in front. The ball then transitions to the other side, and the gap between the 2 midfielders is massive. And again, Nigel, you keep smiling. I'm going to put you on the show tonight. Me and you will break this down. If you don't make me go and get the videos. But for me, it's about understanding and communication. Now, for him to pick up the man that Odegaard wants him to pick up, Saliba needs to push him on. If Saliba doesn't say I'm taking, or them two don't communicate, he has to take the runner. He has to. And then everyone else has to get nice and tight. And then almost force them back, and now we can squeeze up again. It's a lot easier to press this way than chase back that way. So at that moment, we have to be tight and resolute, and then we move forward with the press. And I feel it's a 5 seconds. Odegaard's lost his head, and right, do you know what I mean? I get it. If I'm in the middle,
Gumsa, what are we doing it? What are we doing it? What are we really doing? Hey,
no, I'm giving perspective because I've watched it a few times.
Let me know what's going on here because Gumsa is trying to make us believe that our issues about Sambi Lokonga has to do with the Alvarez chance. Our issues with Sambi Lokonga has nothing. We can talk about this position, that position, Partey. That's irrelevant. This Sambi guy is just washed, bro. I can't stick up for the boy anymore. He's washed. And do you know what he's playing like? He's playing like a player that's like, no matter how well I play, I'm not going to play next game anyway. Like, what kind of attitude is that to have when you play for a club like Arsenal? You got to have that Eddie Nketiah attitude of, who cares if you're not playing? You got to take your chance when you get it. At the end of the day, you're not going to get like 4 or 5 games in a row like a Brighton or even a Newcastle or somewhere else because that's not how it works in football. You're at a big freaking club. Earn your stripes, my guy. Do you get what I'm saying? Earn your stripes or keep it pushing. And he's not earning his stripes when he comes on. He doesn't look commanding. He doesn't look involved. He doesn't look like he wants to impact the game. He has some nice little touches here and there. Anyone can have some nice little touches here and there. Like, do you get what I'm saying? He's 24 years old, Gums. He's not an up-and-coming guy anymore. He's 24 years old. He's not a young buck, bro. His juniors are doing different things. And now, look at him. Like a mumu clown. Bro, this guy is just a joke, bro. I'm lost when it comes to Sambi. He needs to go somewhere and get some minutes. To be fair, I wouldn't have minded him being involved in the Caicedo deal because boy, put him as part of the Caicedo deal. and maybe add a buyback just in case he does blossom into a player by getting some minutes at Brighton. But boy, this guy is not Arsenal ready right now.
Okay, I like it. I do feel we were very, like I said, the Oxford game, I came out and said he needs a loan. Like in that game, he didn't do enough for me. I saw a big improvement in his game yesterday than I did against Oxford, and not even just because of opposition. He was tidy on the ball. Yes, in certain
Was he
areas, he
enough
does
though?
look
Was
like
he
he
enough
doubted.
though, Gumsa? That's what I'm saying. Was it enough for you? I'm not saying was he tidy
You
at
know me already.
moments. Was it enough?
I'm giving time for him. I don't think he was bad at all in that game. I actually don't.
Answer
I
my
really don't.
question.
Like,
Was it enough for you? Were you like,
nah,
actually, yeah,
what are we asking for? What are we asking for? Are we
like
asking for Partey replacement or a player who can go on to have a good career at Arsenal?
Partey replacement?
Nah, and I think that's very difficult to find a Partey replacement that easy. And this is half the issue. Partey is
Caicedo.
Partey.
Caicedo.
We're saying it, and don't get me wrong, Caicedo is a brilliant player. Because Caicedo sit in and do what Partey does, time will tell. Hopefully, he can. I really do hope whoever we get in can come in and do what Partey does. But we all know sometimes it's very hard to replace certain players. It's taken us how many years to actually find a midfielder who can do what Vieira and Gilberto and people like that were doing. It's taken us years. Alex, do you know what I
Bro.
mean? It takes a long time. So I'm not going to just discount this player. We've had.
No, I'm not discounting him, Gumsa, but he's not even shown me as much as like a Joe Willock showed me in the Arsenal shirt, bro.
Yeah,
And he's at
I
Newcastle
do
now,
agree
bro.
with you.
Do you get what I'm saying?
I do agree with you. I do agree. I said my disappointment with him came when he played in the 8 against Oxford. El Nene sat in. He was then given a bit more license, and he didn't do enough for me in that game. And that was the moment I said, you know what, he needs to go on his loan and play without pressure. And we're seeing it with Tavares as well. I just think we as fans are too quick to put the blame on one person because we like the other 10 players. We need to find one scapegoat, and it's Lukonga's turn again. If Nketiah didn't have that run of form he's had leading up to this game, so if Jesus wasn't injured, we win in all them games, and then we come to this game, we put Nketiah in. There's no doubt about it. Nketiah will be getting all the blame for this Man City game. It's only because he's had that run of 6-7 games where we're giving him a bit of time. Do you know what I mean? He had a couple of half chances yesterday. Nothing I expect him to finish. But we're not even looking at direction because we've seen what he can do. With Lukonga, I think he's now just going to be the scapegoat until someone else comes up and we can now blame that person. And for me, again, I get it as fans, is how we are. Is he good enough? No one knows yet. I don't know. Time will tell. Is he good enough
Gumsa,
to
what's
start for
going
me?
on with you today, bro? What's
No,
happening?
it's not.
I know.
I'm
This is your
quite
new
tired of
project.
the
Obviously,
same
you
thing.
worked
It's
on
because
Eddie, and
no,
it
it's the
worked
same.
out of Eddie. Now this is your new project.
No, it's not.
Bro,
I had it
come
with
on.
Nelson. I just think we're too quick to blame people for. Do you know what I mean? Again, I look at that game. That game was a game of chess where we lost it on one moment. It easily could have gone the other way. I can't sit there and blame any one player for us not winning that game. Like I
No,
could
but we're
see
talking
nothing but
about
positive.
Sambi right now, bro.
Yeah,
I'm
and
not,
again,
and we're
was a
not
big part of
blaming,
that.
and nobody, neither me or James,
Not here.
blamed him
Yeah,
for
not here.
losing the
Not here.
game.
You blamed him. Not here. You blamed him. But it's just when you're reading up on a lot of stuff. Again, is there players out there better than Sambi? 100%. Is there players we need to get now in centre midfield? I called this from Oxford. Yes, we need to get people in because again, El Nene's out. We don't know if Partey's an injury or if it's just precaution. We need players in that if someone is out or we need to rotate, someone can hit the ground running. I just think it's just very easy just to blame this one player because again, out of that game there, it was either going to be Holding or Sambi Lukonga who gets all the flack. Do you know what I mean? It's always going to be the way.
I mean,
And I think it's just lazy.
I understand where you're coming from, Gumsa. As a fan base, that's the perspective that they're shifting the blame on Sambi. I get that because I've seen it on Twitter. But if we're basing it off of this conversation, like I am in agreement with Kunle in the sense of he either needs a loan or he needs to move on.
Yeah, 100% needs a loan.
This, as you said, this brother is 24, and he's not as developed as where he should be for that age because he just hasn't had the game time. I'm not saying there isn't a player in there, but my stance on players once they've been here for like 2+ years and they've been given chances, because it's not like he hasn't been given opportunities. He has been, and he just hasn't taken them on the times that he's been given the opportunities. There was a period of time when, obviously, when he first joined, when Partey was out, and he actually looked decent. And when he was taken out of the United game, I think when we won 1-0. I don't know if you guys remember that, where there was like a few games where he was on the run, and then he looked decent. But since that point, he's been given minutes and he's been given opportunities, and he just hasn't taken. And that's where I'm at. for us to be an elite level team, I feel like you need to be cutthroat with a recruitment. If a player isn't there and he isn't performing and he isn't what you want, move on quick, fail quick, and get somebody else in. And that's where my stance is: either a loan or being sold. I don't mind. At this point, he looks like he doesn't want to be here, and when you look like you don't want to be here, that's more telling than how you perform. I don't get if you play poor, but you're like you're closing down, you're tackling, you're doing all of this. You're showing an attitude that I want to play for this club. Then fair enough, and I have a bit more lenience, but I haven't seen that lately, and that's where my stance with Visambi that he's just I don't know. He just needs to a new scene, like
Yeah. Again, we've seen how Tavares has responded to getting out of the cauldron and going somewhere else and playing. And he's blossoming and thriving over in France. Whether he's good enough to come back to Arsenal, time will tell with that one. You never know if a big comes in, we made a sell up. But I agree. I 100% agree with both of you. He does need a loan. He needs to go out and play football and just get his head down and play. And you've kind of segued really nicely into the next talking point. At the end of the game, he was seen to be the first Arsenal player to walk down the tunnel. I haven't watched the video, but from what everyone's saying, he didn't go and clap the fans. He kind of, at full time whistle, he walked down there. For me, that's not good enough, and that is where I would have a criticism of him. Like you're saying, regardless of your performance, regardless if the result goes against you, the fans have travelled from London to Manchester on a Friday. A lot of them may have took the day off work or whatever it was to get there on time, and the least you can do is go over there and applaud and clap and say thank you. So, yeah, that for me is a big problem for him. And again, it may feed into his attitude, which Kunle was saying about the well, if I'm not going to play the next game, what's the point in trying? And that's where he does need to improve. Kunle, what's your thoughts on him walking down the tunnel? Or is that just kind of what you expect from someone now, a bit of a petulant child, potentially?
Yeah, literally. As a child, bro. From the Amazon documentary, you show me what he's about, bro. He thinks he's owed something without earning it. So that's my issue with him. So keep it pushing, bro.
James?
Yeah, man. I don't know. Again, I just feel like it's due to frustration. I don't know if this is who he is as a character. Sometimes we will have blips where it's like, look, I'm frustrated. I can't be asked. What's the point? We've all been there. But it's not great to see from a fan perspective. So that's why I want him to move on in some capacity.
Yeah. Hopefully we can get this resolved. If El Nene's injured, it depends on Smith Rowe as well. But we definitely need reinforcements in that midfield. Definitely need that. So fingers crossed Edu and Arteta can get something pulled out of the bag before.
Yeah, bro, we gotta do something, bro, because we need it, man. Even more so now with the issues of potentially Partey. I don't know what's going on there. We needed a set DM before that anyway, but now, even more so with El Neni and all that, and how bad fucking Lokonga is.
100%. But before we get into some player ratings, give us your thoughts on what this does for the next game. Again, the FA Cup. Yeah, we don't want to get beat in it, but if you have to get beaten in one of the 3 games against City, it would be this one. I think most fans would take. But what does this do for the next game? Because they didn't rotate as much, but I think they've got a squad where they can rotate that anyway without there was no Foden. Do you know what I mean? Bernardo Silva didn't start, so even if they bring players in, it's still of a great standard. Like they got Diaz and Laporte coming back. Walker didn't start. What do you think? Even though we lost, who do you reckon the mentality probably is better at the end of this? Like Arsenal knowing that actually we rotated 6 and we still went toe-to-toe. We was better in the first half. Second half, it was that talking a moment. It wasn't like, to be relative, just talking about the Man United game, we dominated that second half. We absolutely put it on for 20 minutes and then we got the goal, which we deserved. This didn't feel like that to me. They didn't overrun us. It was just a moment, if that makes sense. So, do you feel we come out of there actually a bit happier in terms of we know we can still raise it to a few extra levels, whereas City kind of are at their, not saying maximum, but do you know what I mean? Like,
nah, to be honest, it's for me, it's more what it does for City than what it does for Arsenal. For me, that I'm worried about, because for us, it proved to me that, do you know what? In the first half, we weren't even at full strength, and we were the dominant side. They had De Bruyne, Haaland. We kept all them men quiet, bro. Do you know what I'm saying? So Arteta must say, we can actually go toe-to-toe with these boys. Obviously, when he dropped Partey, even though Odegaard and Martinelli came on, it wasn't really our first team that started that game. Do you get what I'm saying? So by that time Partey had come off, and do you know what I'm saying? Things had changed about by then. So for us, I don't think that loss is going to do anything to us negatively mentally. If anything, it's going to show us, look, we can get these guys at home. You know, that we can actually beat these guys with our full strength. But for City, what I'm worried about is for them getting that win against us. The rallying call could be like, okay, look, we can still beat them, innit? Like, we're still the guys. We're still the big dogs in town. Let's show these Arsenal boys. We show them we could beat them. And that's what I don't want, for them to now go on like a 10-game winning run and all that stuff, because then that really puts the pressure on us. But for us, I don't think confidence-wise it's going to do anything for our confidence. We still believe we can get at these boys because we were in the game. Nathan Ake scored the winning goal. Like, come on, like, is that normal? You know what I'm saying? So that's what it took to beat us. So we shouldn't be disheartened and go into this next game against Everton very confident, man. We should do that.
I hear that. What about yourself, James? Is it damaging defeat for us, or is it actually, if you want to get beat by City, this is the way to get beat, and actually does it show more about we have options, rotation, there's a bit of depth there, players you can call upon? Because I think that has been a lot of our worries this year is, if there's no top with Ben White, or if there's no Saliba, so on, so if there's no Odegaard. So yeah, what for you? Is it a good thing? Not a good thing, but you know what I mean? Is it? Can you take positives?
Yeah, no, of course you can take positives. I reckon there's so many more positives than there are negatives. The only negative is the result, but at the end of the day, I think these players are going to be pissed that they lost that game. I don't know if you guys seen Zinchenko's Instagram. He put the caption.
No.
I'll read it.
What did he put?
So he said, "Not the result what we came for, but we will bounce back. There are no old friends. There are friends of whom there are many good memories, and you will always be glad to see each of them. There is no past home. There is a place where you were very happy, and now you are happy to return. Thank you, Etihad, for the warm welcome. See you soon at the Emirates. I hope you will have fun." Winky face.
That's a rallying cry.
So
I like this guy. More and more. I like every day it goes past. I'm loving this guy more.
For me, I think it's going to be like the whole United thing. They're only lost in the Prem. Got to get back. I feel like this is just gonna spur, and again, it's contingent on. We need to wait for how Partey is with this whole conundrum. With is his ribs, so they're checking if they're broken or if they're bruised or what. But yeah, man, I'm just happy because if you would have told me last season we would have signed 3 players and the level we would have closed Man City by is to be even or better than them, you would have been, nah, that ain't happen. And it has, right? We're going toe to toe with 6 players out. And when we were with the main players in the team, we looked like we were just so much better than what we were with the other 6 out. So for me, yeah, man, I feel like they're just gonna take everything that this game has and be like, look, we lost, but you know, let's batter them at the Emirates in Feb, and that's what I think the stance will be.
Yeah, it's almost like calling upon that kind of. I think Arteta's bringing a bit of that Jose Mourinho vibe, where it's us against them. You've seen how we're doing things at the moment, and how the boys react to things. Zinchenko's Instagram message just there, just shows like he's Arsenal now. Do you know what I mean? It's not no friendly time. I'm going out to see old pals. This is Arsenal, and I think the players are really buying into that. And yeah, I think they will be saying, all right, when you lot come to our place, we'll see now what's really going on, because you could almost sometimes wait the beast, and it's going to be an interesting game. I'm really looking forward to that one, I'll be honest with you. I really am. And I'm calling it from now. I think we take 4 points off City. That's my prediction for the next 2. I think we take 4. But right, we're going to get into some player ratings. Big up DJ D in the building, by the way. He's saying Sambi needs to go. Craig AFC 87 says Brighton have told Arsenal and Chelsea need to go up to 90 million for Casido.
It's funny that, by the way, considering he's not for sale. Have you guys noticed how the stance of changes? It's Brighton aren't selling. Player has been suspended until the transfer window ends. Arsenal have been in negotiations with Brighton for the past day. Now he's now gone up to 90 million, and I thought he wasn't for sale. Bruv, something's changing.
I don't want to read too much into it, but obviously Chelsea had a bid rejected earlier in the window, and you didn't really hear nothing from Caicedo. And I know he's now got new agents and the rest of it, so it might be more that. But for him to come out with that open letter, Again, I hope it is true. I'm not sure if it's true or not, but I think even Romano's tweeted it out, so there must be some truth behind it. For him to put that open letter out there after the Arsenal bid come in, and it's not ruling out Chelsea, but again, do you think it's this is the bid that seemed to have made him come out and say, "No, come on, let me go now." If both of them agree, do you see him picking Arsenal over Chelsea?
Yes.
Personally, even though Potter is his old manager, I think he sees the setup at Arsenal as a little bit more stabilised, and you can also probably see a player in Thomas Partey where, do you know what? I know I'm going to get games because he's going to get injured, and I'm going to get a chance to play with him as well. Like they're like kind of molding me to be the heir to Partey anyway. So I think he can see that more than the future at Chelsea personally. But let's see.
I don't think there's a contest when the finances are equal. I'm talking transfer fee and wages. If all said and done, if we would have offered the same package Chelsea did to Mudryk, he would have come to us. Same scenario here. If we offer the same amount of money, the same amount of wages to him, brother has one choice, and let's be real, it's coming to the carpet.
I hear that.
But I don't know if we offer the same wages as Chelsea. Though.
We didn't. This is the thing. This is what I'm saying. In a hypothetical situation, is if both of our clubs offer the exact same value, same contract, he's only picking one team, and it ain't Chelsea.
Yeah, I hear that. What do you reckon gets this done then? Again, we're not in the negotiations. We don't know, but they come out and quoted 90. We've gone up to 65. 80. Yeah. Nigel,
I think 75 to be fair, but yeah, he's not worth it. But with the Partey thing, like we're not knowing what's gonna happen. You never know with his injuries. I think let's just do it because what I've heard today, I don't know if you guys heard as well, that this has nothing to do with what we do with Declan Rice in the summer. So James might be right for a change. So yeah.
Well, that Declan Rice is the chosen one. Yeah.
If this is looking difficult, so now I'll just keep throwing questions out. We know we need a DM. If this is looking difficult, where do you turn?
Zubimendi, Onana, Kefren Turam, who I've been banging on about for years.
You got a few. What about you, Nigel? Where are you going if we can't get this one over the line?
I don't know. Onana, the same. Onana, really. I don't really know. And Zubimendi, and there's one guy that plays for Lons as well. Because they were Abdul Samed. He's not a bad player as well. He's not a bad player. He get him for cheap, so.
Yeah, but my only thing is, after seeing what Trossard's done, it's like, do we just stick to Premier League because this is what we need for 6 months, isn't it, to get us over the line? It's that player who's been there and done it. Zubimendi, I like the thought of Zubimendi. I think he's a really good player, but would he adjust quick enough? And that's my only reservations going for him. So I like the Onana shout. I do like that. To be fair, I can't think of anyone else top of my head who fits the rest of the mold, but I just know we need something. So I'm just going to put my faith in Arteta and hopefully someone else comes to the carpet. So, but yeah, that's talk for another day. But let's get into some player ratings real quick. Just give me the score. We're going to fly through, so we've got to be off this in a minute. We start with James, Matt Turner.
7.
Yep. Kunle, we go right back. Tomiyasu.
7.
I'll take Rob Holding. I'm gonna give Holding an 8. You're not gonna think I'm crazy, but I enjoyed watching like a throwback. Yeah, it's for you, Silver Fox. But it was like a throwback watching an old school Kieran and Bolden and lot just be horrible. So
Bolden, yeah, bro. Yeah. Rob Holding was Bolden. You're only giving him an 8 for his hairline recovery.
His partner Gabriel James.
8.
Kunle, Tierney falls on you. Go on, look after him.
7. Nah, it's probably a 6 to be fair, actually. A 6.
Good old TP, I'll give a 7. Played the first half, I'll give a 7 because he came off. His partner Xhaka, James.
7. He had really good balls. That sounds mad. He had really good balls to Nketiah.
That's 2 streets of the way you don't know.
Hey. He had really good balls to Nketiah.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, it was a lovely. Yeah, that one, that was beautiful. Who played in front? So Fabio Vieira, Mr. Niger.
6.
Yeah. Who we got on the right? Bukayo Saka. From me, he gets a 6 as well. Was not his best game at all. James, you then have Trossard.
Yeah, I'll give him an 8. I thought it was really good.
Yeah. And Nketiah, Mr. Niger.
Eddie, I'll give him a 6.5, man. It wasn't one of his better games, to be fair. Like 6.5. 6.5.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Wow, what would you have given him?
I think he worked pretty well. I think it just didn't fall for him, if that makes sense. But overall game, I think he done well. He wouldn't have got more than a 7. I just think he was better than Saka and Vieira. But wasn't this? I mean, Trossard for me was my man of the match. Yeah, let's get into the subs. So first sub on was Saliba. I'll give him a 7. I think he done well. Not sure if he could have done a little bit more for the goal. He didn't make himself big when he came out. And I understand you don't want things to go through your legs, because that sometimes is harder for the keeper. But it's like the ball was right next to his foot. But I'm not putting blame now. It's just them small margins, isn't it? You're talking, if he was a size 12, he might have blocked it. So, I'll give him a 7. Who's the second sub? Sambi Lokonga. James, I'm glad it's fallen on you.
5.
Really? You thought he was a 5?
Mm-hmm. He was the
You
worst player on the
thinking
pitch,
4?
in my
You thinking
opinion.
4?
Nah, bro, I can't.
Gumsa?
He's thinking high. He wants to give him a higher rating. I can't give him a 6 because he wasn't as bad as Tierney or Saka. I thought it was worse. I know Saka got pocketed, but
Okay.
We'll go 5.5.
I'm not saying nothing. Who else came on? Odegaard. I can't remember which order they came on, but on Odegaard might have been the last one, to be fair. But Nigel, you got Odegaard.
I'll give him a 5, 6.
Zinchenko, come on, I'll give him a 6. And Martinelli, James.
7. He did really well.
Do you know, I needed that from him that game as well. Because
he's been off it the past few games.
He knows that Trossard's there now, man. He can't.
He signed a new deal as well, which is good.
Yeah. So it's all
maybe
good.
That's what was on his mind. Who knows?
Yeah, just need to extra couple of grand on his paycheck. So, but yeah, all in all, let's give Arteta a rating. Each of us can score Arteta. Nigel, you can go first.
I'll go with a 6.5, 7, 6, okay, 7.
It's gonna sound mad because we didn't win the game, but I'll go at 8. I think it was nice to see we competed at that level. I could take losing if you lose the right way. We didn't get dominated, regardless of score. Like you can lose 1-0 and get back.
You can't get an 8 for a loss, bro.
And we rotated.
It's not possible.
We rotated.
It's not possible, bro. It's not possible.
I'm gonna go 8. James,
you can't even get an 8 for a draw.
I'm giving him a 9. I'm giving him a 7.
Yeah, I think you got to take into consideration your position. City are no joke.
Bro, 8, bro. Come on,
yeah.
Come off it, bro.
I'm here, boy. I'm here, and I'm positive. This is me. But yeah, I'm gonna take my 8.
Wow.
And see them at the Emirates, as Zinchenko said. So yeah. Now, as I said, I think I've had time to reflect. I've watched the game back 2.5 times. Well, watched it first live, then watched it again, and watched a bit this morning. And I think there's a lot more positives out there than negatives, and that's what I'm basing it on. I wasn't really bothered about this competition this season anyway. So yeah, for me, I'm definitely taking the positive out there, and there's a lot more positives than negatives in this game for me. So that's why. But yeah, cool. On that note, Nigel, it's lovely to see you again. James, as always a pleasure. And we move, and let's just hope we get some business done, and then we're gonna go and see Everton in next week, Saturday or Sunday. We're playing Everton in a week's time anyway. So yeah, make sure party is fit, and let's just do this. For us at the Armoury TV, we out of here.